my show.
I talked to you yesterday.
Good. You are fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
A great host. Show is great. Listen to his show.
Absolutely. 95.5.
For the longest time,
Our calls for economic boycott today, where consumers are urged only to purchase from small businesses, likely to be effective in holding billionaires like Jeff Bezos to account. Yeah, I was going to cover this issue and we ran out of time.
I'll give you a boycott.
Well, wait a second. This is something called the People's Union USA No Spend Day. It's against the malign influence of billionaires, big corporations, and both major political parties on the lives of working Americans. And what it is you refrain from making any purchases for a full day. I know. That look on your face says it all. You're right. It's so stupid and lame.
It mistakes. This is why I was saying that there really is a movement of people doing interpretive dances to protest the Trump administration's cuts of USAID. I mean, like, people are starving. You know, the thing about not winning, as you said, is you're left with these kind of absurdities, right? The answer is figure out how to win elections.
100,000 new community police officers or defund the police. Now, which one do you think is going to work? It's crazy on this part, but it's an example of this. I think the part, if you're talking about interpretive dance and everything like that, and what's really crazy about where the party's gone, it's taken an identity politics that the only way you have a moral standing is you're somehow been hurt.
Shelley Winter Show, live, local, topical, and relevant. As you know, today is Monday. Bulldogs Live is next at 8 o'clock, so we have a short show. I think next Monday is the last Monday because the season ends next Tuesday, I believe, or next week. The season ends next week, so we might be down to the last couple Bulldogs Lives where we can go our full 2 hours every Monday. But Bulldogs Live up next at 8 o'clock, so we're going to start off. I wanted to start off with that. That was Bill Maher's Overtime with Fareed Zakaria of CNN and Rahm Emanuel. All three of these guys are Democrats. All three of these guys are liberals, okay? If you pay attention to that clip, first of all, they completely make fun of the idea of the boycotts. Just fixing up the little camera here because we use these clips for you guys. They completely make fun of the boycotts, right? That's like the first thing that they talk about. I mean, they laugh at the idea of these boycotts that happened on Friday. That's the first thing that I found very fascinating. It's not like they're saying, oh, good idea, will it work? No, they're laughing out loud at the boycotts on Friday. Then Rahm Emanuel, who worked for the Obama administration and also the Clinton administration, Rahm Emanuel's a hardcore Democrat. Hardcore. He's a liberal. He's not a progressive, but he's a liberal. And Rahm Emanuel then says the identity politics. We've got to stop with the identity politics. This is all code. This is all code. They're speaking out loud, but they're speaking in code. And what he's saying is we've got to stop talking specifically to these young progressives, anti-Israel groups, African Americans, and, excuse me, and the and the LGBT groups. That's what he's saying out loud. James Carville has been saying it. Others have been saying it. They're saying the quiet part out loud now because they've lost elections. And I started with this because a couple weeks ago, I talked about no one's going to listen. I talk about this all the time on this show. An example that I use is a gas gauge in your car. And one of the things is if white guilt were your gas gauge, the the gas light is on. It's empty. The tank is empty. It doesn't play anymore. And so so what they're saying is that we need to go back to Rahm Emanuel. You hear him say it, and he's right. It's just what the Republicans not what the Republicans did, but it's what the Trump campaign did. You need to go back to targeting the American people who are hurt. Working class, middle class, these people that are hurt no matter who the president is. People who lost their homes under both Democrats and Republicans. People who lost their jobs under both Republicans and Democrats. That's who Trump and his campaign targeted. That's who he's talking to. And that's what you're seeing. That's why he won the election. But it's just fascinating to watch play out, because now they're saying the quiet part out loud. And I want to keep touching on the boycotts, because you heard you heard me on the air last week talking about this boycott that happened on Friday. Now, I'll be honest with you. I thought this boycott was really a racial thing. I thought this boycott was organized, put together by your Al Sharptons and your NAACPs and your Pastor Bryants and all these different pastors. I thought this was what we call a black thing, right? That's what I thought. But then I see a story on CBS News, and they're talking about a guy by the name of Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz is a guy out of the Midwest who started this kind of economic no spend day. That's what Bill Maher is referencing. And it wasn't until I saw that clip that I even know that Bill Maher was talking about that. I mean, who Bill Maher was talking about, because I was like, economic boycott was the black thing. But no, Jim Schwartz is a white guy, socialist, who started this no spend day back in early February to target corporations and billionaires and hit them hard in their pockets, which is why Bill Maher laughed at it. But Bill Maher didn't mention anything about Al Sharpton's, NAACP, and people like that. He didn't mention it. He just said it was stupid, because he can't. He doesn't want to piss his people off, because he knows that, they would go after him. But what I found to be so incredibly hilarious to me is that all the time that I was talking about this economic boycott on Friday the 28th, I thought it was one group of people because of DEI. And I was making fun of it, only to find out that a white socialist was the one who kind of started this whole ball rolling. And I thought to myself, so our leaders, quote unquote, took the idea of this white guy and made it about DEI to get African Americans to join in. And this guy, Jim Schwartz of the People's Union USA, has a GoFundMe page. Last I looked, it had about $70,000 in it. So everyone's spreading the message of an economic boycott. Everyone's not spending their money. Everyone's not going into these major retailers, only to find out that there's a guy on the other end of all of this who made $70,000 from GoFundMe. Now, I want to read to you. This is from Newsweek. Despite calls for an economic boycott targeting major retailers on February 28th, early data reveals Amazon sales actually increased during the boycott period, according to analytics from Momentum Commerce. Amazon's transactions rose 1% to a typical Friday patterns. The data shows, and then it says by late afternoon. And then the key quote here is that where is it? The key quote here is that overall, based on what we can see, the boycott had no impact. That's from Forbes magazine. The boycott had no impact. And it certainly didn't have any impact on Amazon, but you can argue that's because Amazon wasn't a target, unless you look at people saying they weren't going to spend at all. It's just all fascinating to me. I told you guys a long time ago, the Democrats are going to dump their base. They're going from the hood to focusing on haciendas. Shelley Winter Show. For no phone number today because of the game. We'll be right back. I got this cold. Excuse me. It's like a respiratory thing, and I run out of. Well, I probably run out of breath quickly because I haven't given up. We'll be right back. Shelley Winter.